welcome you all to our World of Work sessions. And I think as the poster says, and the goal of these sessions, which are going to be hosted monthly by Thabo, is to explore new ways of work and to get a better understanding of what the world of work is looking like, to see it through the eyes of people who are innovating and achieving things, and to follow the journeys that they've traveled, and to try and understand the challenges that they are coming up across as we are seeing this massive and rapid change taking part in the world that we live in. I think our byline is not to be limited by your imagination, and we make reference to a famous quote by Albert Einstein, who once said that logic will get you from A to B, but imagination will take you everywhere. So I'd like to hand over this session and all future sessions to our host and our guide, Thabo Rampore. Thabo, we introduced him to you guys last week. He's going to convene these sessions once a month. He's going to convene great guest speakers. Often it's going to be debate and discussion, and he's going to navigate our way as we try to develop a better sense of what the future holds for all of us. So Thabo, I'm handing over the session to you. Welcome, and thank you very much for agreeing to host these sessions. And I think this is going to be a brilliant session. So welcome to everybody, and let's have a good session. Thabo, in your hands.
Oh, fantastic. Thanks so much, Clifford. So I guess what I would like to start off by doing is laying down the foundation by way of introduction for some of the people that weren't on the call last week. So I want to start off by giving a very quick intro into myself and what it is that I do. So long story short, I am an innovation practitioner. So I work for a company called Future World. And in working for Future World, what we work on is creating sustainable business models. So that, broken down or easily put, basically means that we help organizations or corporates build or create exponential businesses, number one, and number two, we help them create exponential technologies or solutions. And that is by way of, and I apologize for the jargon, by way of design thinking, which is all about empathy. So human-centered design and designing for your customer. And there's a very specific way in which you do that sort of thing, or how you ask people questions in order to probe or understand where it is that they're coming from. Then the second thing is lean startup methodology, which is really around trying to learn quickly or learn fast. We let go of the phrase fail fast a long time ago, because fail gives the connotation that you are looking to fail in your quest, whereas what you're looking to do is learn more than fail, really. So that is who I am and what I do. And why I put my hand up for this initiative is purely because I've got a passion for youth and young people, because I realized in some of the other initiatives or programs that I'm part of, what's really missing from a young people perspective, whether it is in high school or in varsity, it's the fact that as a country, we aren't really exposed to anything more than what's already out there, like your LLBs and your BComs, economics, etc., etc. And that is no shade or disrespect to any of those careers. However, it's just about understanding that there's also a lot out there that is ripe for the picking for you to capitalize on in understanding number one, what your passions or where your talents lie, as well as purpose. I'm a person that is big on purpose. I'm big on understanding one's purpose and living it. So part of what I'm trying to achieve with Clifford and the team is trying to untap that potential in you guys as young people and your teachers as well. So that is why I'm so passionate about making sure that I untap or help untap this potential in you. So you will notice from a format perspective, today's session particularly will be very conversational, especially in the guest speakers that we've got, or our panelists that we've got lined up. It is pretty much a broad spectrum view when it comes to the types of individuals that we've got for you today. So with that said, Daddy's busy. Here's the future here, my son. Go play with mommy. Go play with mommy. Go. You gotta love it. 3-year-olds. Where was I? So as I was saying, when you look at the format of today's session, it's really around having our panelists that look at different perspectives or different views from a creative perspective. So a lot of the individuals that we've got on our panel today are creatives, and they're going to help you understand or demystify some myths around what it is that they do and how they do it. So we really want you to get a great or grasp a better understanding around what it is that they do and how they do it. So you will see the format of how we're going to do it is me pretty much in conversation or discussion with our panelists, and then you will get an opportunity to ask these panelists any questions that you've got at the end. So that is the format of how today's going to run, and we'll have different themes for the sessions going forward. So it's going to be awesome. Looking forward to the journey and having everybody on board. And then without further ado, what I want to start doing is sharing my screen here quickly. Right, yeah, let's do this. Cool. All right. Now, as I was saying, what I want to start off by doing before I introduce our speakers is looking at a typical journey from an individual perspective. When you look at how we are taught or how we are given information about what our futures look like, it is typically you start in primary school, you go to high school, you go to university, and lo and behold, you work in an office environment behind a desk, working 9 to 5, and typically this is how it's currently done. And the thing is, what many people don't understand is the fact that not everybody's path is meant to be that way. We aren't all meant to sit behind a desk. And the problem is, it all goes back to that famous saying or that famous proverb that speaks to the fact that when you give individuals the same test or the same exam, if you give a fish an exam around how to climb a tree, that fish will definitely fail, purely because we all have different talents and different passions. So we are, some of us, meant to sit behind a desk, and others meant to untap other potentials, opportunities that lie within us. It's just about understanding what those are. Now, the thing is, when you look at this diagram, don't get too caught up in the detail. All I was trying to illustrate here is how we work in a future world environment or an innovation startup environment. What's happening here is that you're looking at how we run as an organization. So what we work around is pretty much 2-week sprints, and that means we've got a specific focus for that particular 2 weeks, and we make sure we run in a cadence of 2 to 3 days and feeding back to each other as team members. It's no longer about sitting in a meeting or sitting in a boardroom for an hour, discussing matters, going back to your desk, coming back. Not at all. It is meant to be as dynamic as possible through what it is that we do or how we do work. So that's what I was trying to illustrate with the slide here. The fact that work is no longer the same or how we used to view it being. Now, what you can expect from these sessions is pretty much a wealth of knowledge and expertise and insights and tons of it. So I feel like a lot of our learners today are given a very rare opportunity that some of us were never afforded, in the fact that these panelists that you'll be hearing from today are giving their time in order to demystify some of the myths around their passions and their careers, as well as sharing a lot of their insights with you. So make sure you absorb as much as you can as these panelists are talking and as I probe and ask them questions. So make sure you absorb as much as possible. So expectations really from us, since we're running all these sessions, so the expectations we've got on you is, firstly, make sure you absorb and listen intently. Be engaging or be engaged in the material and the content that you're going to be hearing today. And secondly, when you don't understand anything, please jot it down, or even if you've got a question, jot it down, and then you will ask it in the Q&A section or the Q&A part. And lastly, what we are ultimately doing with this here program is that we are trying to make you see things or the world of work differently. We're trying to make sure that you are divergent in your thinking. So please make sure you absorb every single thing that our panelists are talking about today and ask questions at the end. And without further ado, I would like to start off by introducing the individuals that we've got as panelists today. And our first one is Hayley, and she's a producer / director / creative director at the TaylorMade Group. Now, you'll see with all of these individuals that we've got today, they're pretty much, or the times that we're living in are pretty much what's termed the gig economy. And the gig economy is made up of what's called slashers. So you're a producer / director. Gone are the days where you're only focused on one thing. And it doesn't necessarily have to do with money or the different revenue sources. The money part, and I'm a big believer in this, which is why I said I'm big on purpose. The money part will come. The reason why you become a slasher in the first place is because it's where your passions lie, number one, and number two, it is where your purpose is taking you. The things that these individuals do aren't forceful. They don't force themselves to do it. It's just inherently in them. They had to untap all of this potential in them in order for them to understand the path that they need to take. Anyway, as I was saying, so Hayley is also a creative director at the TaylorMade Group. Now at the TaylorMade Group, they're pretty much a production team, which is comprised of a combination of the state-of-the-art and high caliber group of individuals with over 13 years of experience in entertainment. And the company specializes in professional productions, choreography, stage management, artist bookings, as well as costume design and manufacturing as well. Now, success in these areas has not only allowed the team to set new benchmarks in generating exceptional corporate event productions or / entertainment, but has also resulted in a well-earned reputation due to their dedication to working tirelessly while striving to inspire our clients or their clients, audiences, and affiliates in the entertainment industry. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Hayley as part of our panelists. Hayley, welcome.
Thank you so much, Tabu. I feel like I should go.
No, it's definitely worthy of a horn.
Thank you. Wow.
So just before we introduce our next panelist, Hayley, could you please describe for us in a sentence, I know I read a lot, but what it is that you do with all these slashes? So what does Hayley actually do?
Sure, in one sentence.
One sentence.
Wow. We try and come up with the best, we come up with the best solutions for our corporate clients when it comes to entertainment, technical, now virtual streaming. We are the solution makers, essentially, for some of the biggest corporate clients in South Africa. Cool. So that they can continue to reach their staff, they can continue to entertain people and keep their brand alive in times like this. And that's what we do, thinking out the box.
Cool. I like it. Thinking out the box. Great. Thank you, Hayley. Our next panelist is Megan. And Megan is a singer, songwriter, actor, presenter, model, director, drama coach, creative producer. See all these slashes that I'm mentioning, slash, slash. Now, to give you some brief background on Megan, she's a triple threat. She's a classically trained vocalist, a gifted actor, and possessing a beauty which has made her the international face of major brands. Now, she was born in Kimberley, and she grew up in the Northern Cape Theatre as a leading lady in several productions, and frequented the Kimberley Arts Festival for 11 years. Now, Megan first made her mark as a soprano for the Kimberley Children's Choir, with whom she toured Austria and Sweden, very cold countries in winter, and took part in the first ever Choir Olympics in 2000. Now, her choir achieved third place in the gold category, which means overall they were third place in the world, but the best children's choir on the African continent. Everybody take a moment to please welcome Megan. Welcome, Megan. Do we have you online, Megan? It doesn't look like Megan's online as yet, but...
I am there.
Yeah, she's on.
Oh,
Cool.
Hi.
Unmuted.
Hi, Megan. Oh, were you
Yeah, I
muted?
finally unmuted myself. Sorry, guys. I'm calling you from set right now.
Yes. Sam told us all about it, that you're busy shooting there. Exciting times. Very exciting.
Indeed. Indeed.
What would you say you do in a sentence if you were to break it down in a sentence, Megan?
I don't know. It's kind of weird now because, I mean, everything that you read right now belongs to pre-pandemic Megan, you know?
Yes.
And pandemic Megan is a whole other story. And she's found purpose in other things. She's found purpose in service. She's found purpose in helping people. And honestly, I'm stepping into more of a director producer role now, more than I ever have, all my life.
Yeah.
And this is kind of where you want to end up as an entertainer. Eventually you want to be the person making things happen and making the calls and doing those kinds of things. But it's a very weird question to ask during a pandemic, because I'm certainly not the same person I was over 100 days ago. I'm just not. So I would say I'm transitioning, I'm evolving, and let's see what the next sort of phase of my life brings.
So I will also just tell you who I am then in a session, well, like Megan also battled to do it in a sentence. Started off as a performer, moved into teaching, and then understood that in the teaching space, kids often weren't being heard, and they needed to offload a good half hour of the session just in terms of how they were feeling, their mental and emotional space, before moving on with the session. And then understanding also what it all says is that we as performers and we as creators are actually storytellers. I think storytellers is at the core of who we all are. I think storytelling is the very thing that links us all as human beings. I mean, if I think back to my childhood, it was my mother entertained me at home, acting out stories from movies, singing songs. You'd go to school and the school teacher would ask you, what did you do over the holidays? And you'd tell your story. And then when you go home from school, your mom would say, what did you do at school today? And you'd tell her story. And even listening to Taba talking, he tells his story. You've told your story, Megs. That is how we link. And I think we forget as creatives that actually we are born with the ability to express what everyone else is feeling. We are privileged to tell our stories and other people's stories. It is at the root of who we are as human beings. As children, we relish the idea of going into our imaginations and being able to create our own stories. And as performers, you often get to tell other people's stories. And what I'm passionate now about is learning more about my own story, more about everybody else's stories, because I think that is how you learn empathy. It's how you understand people. It's how you can communicate better. And I think going forward, it is the way that we will get past this, is being able to understand each other. And so I'm just going to call myself a storyteller and a human healer. That's it.
Yes. Ah, great. Was that you introing yourself, Sam?
I did, my love.
I love it. Thank you. Thank you. Now that Sam is done, let us introduce Bongi. So, one of our other panelists that we've got today is Sibongile, who's an internationally acclaimed opera singer. Now, Bongi studied at the CA College of Music and at the Accademia Musicale Chigiana in Italy for advanced singers. So 2014, she's a 2014 recipient of the Mbogotto Award for Opera. Versatility in vocal styles from opera to jazz to gospel and pop. And she was nominated for 2 Sama Awards for her debut album. She's a voice teacher / vocal coach, vocal rehabilitation expert. And to both Sam and Megan's points, Bongi is the founder of I Am for the Arts Initiative, which now has over 70,000 members and even has its own constitution when you think about the pandemic times. So everybody welcome Bongi.
Yay.
Hello, hi.
Hi, Bongi.
Thank you.
How does what you do become encapsulated in one sentence?
Sure. You see, that becomes very difficult when you're my age because you have a lifetime. So what I do, I
was
say...
about to say that's absolute nonsense because 23-year-olds don't have that much to say.
You know? So what I do is I heal through music and art.
Yes. Yeah.
I heal spaces, I heal people, I heal minds and hearts. That's what I do.
Oh, that's powerful. Heal minds and hearts. Great. Thank you, Bongi. Looking forward to the conversation. And then the thorn amongst the roses, or is he the rose amongst the thorns? We won't get into that for now. Is Julian. Now, Julian is the founder and head designer of Bhutan Wear. And from a Bhutan perspective, they're a streetwear brand deeply entrenched in South African underground culture and urban lifestyle. While building the brand and running the company, Julian gained experience in business, graphic design, clothing design, management, sales, marketing, accounting, as well as most other aspects related to building and growing an independently run operation, which is interesting because he studied engineering, if I'm not mistaken. Now, Julian's main goal is to grow Bhutan into a global brand. The brand is currently expanding its distribution network within South Africa and neighboring countries. Bhutan has a representative and distributor in Switzerland who aims to expand the brand's reach to the rest of Europe in the near future. Everybody welcome Julian. Jules, are you on the call?
Yo, I'm here. Tabo.
Yes, sir. How are you doing?
I'm great, my brother. How are you?
Ah, fantastic. Thank you. Jules, give us what you do in a sentence.
I will, but I must say that's like a super outdated bio. Yo, Did you find that? I think it was not on LinkedIn or something. Or where did you find this thing?
I never reveal my secrets.
Okay, so a couple of things are not quite right there, but it doesn't really matter. I think, well, yes, number one, I did study engineering, that's correct. We unfortunately, we had a distributor in Europe that was years ago. So unfortunately, that is not a reality anymore. But currently, we stocked in Southern Africa in 26 stores. And we have also expanded into an apparel agency. So that's our second business. We've got actually very interesting projects that have risen in the past 3 years. And in a nutshell, or rather in one sentence, I think with the brand, in essence, what we set out to do is educate the youth about culture and heritage, in particular African culture and heritage, through the means of fashion. I think that is really in a nutshell what we do. And then with the agency, it's about, we enable companies or brands to enter the apparel space. And we basically assist, like it's a 360 degrees solution that we offer. So from conceptualization, design, to marketing, the whole shebang.
Cool. Thank you, Jules. And our last thorn amongst the roses is Sia Metane. Now, Sia is an entrepreneur and founder and CEO of Slick On Life. He's also a musician. Now, one of the quotes that Sia was famously quoted as saying was, "Everyone told me I was nuts, that Black people don't go online. I did it anyway. With Squatter Camp, we had created a market for our music. Kids supported us, and then brands came on board. We now average between 200,000 to 250 unique visitors a month. The number probably has increased, which is impressive for a mainstream website, let alone a niche music site. Now, Slick On Life seeks to give the voiceless a voice, to prove that if they can drive the aspirations of South Africa's urban youth, the sky will be the limit. The team is creating communities that brands can plug into authentically. They're selling what no digital agency can sell, which is the truth, the culture, and bringing the worlds together. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Sia. Sia, are you on the line? Mr. Metane.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
How you doing?
Good, thank you, sir.
I'm gonna say exactly what Julian said. Where did you get all this stuff? You know, it's a bit dated. You know?
Clearly, your representatives
sitting at like
your info.
Hey man, listen. You know, is that a LinkedIn page or is that the citizen? You know, damn. You know, now we currently sitting close to like over 400 unique visitors now. I don't know whether it's because of COVID, but it's a good thing. We're not mad at that, you know. But just from my side, you know, I think really they give us names. They call us entrepreneurs, founders, whatever the name is. But I think that like I'm a passion project. You know, that's what I am. I'm literally a living passion project, and I follow my heart. And I've been gifted with the ability to make a living out of it, you know. So I think the big thing about it is that like when we talked about Squatter Camp and selling music, you know, no, it wasn't, rap music wasn't selling, but rap was a passion. And how the universe made us be the guys that are able to sell it is incredible. You know, like when I started Slick On Life as a website, everybody was telling me that like you can't have a desktop platform or whatever the case because of the world or where the world is going. Sites are dated, websites are dated, and funny enough, we were able to not only make a website have close to organically have like just over 400,000 unique visits a month, but we were also able to take that website and build the insights to create solutions for brands, because now we had cornered a certain audience, and we've worked with like every type of brand, from the banks to alcohol brands to soft drink brands. You know, we've helped them with solutions, with digital content and connecting them to the world. At the end of the day, we are a representation of a passion of creativity that literally comes out as songs, comes out as music, comes out as pictures and as visuals. And how do you marry that with businesses that are trying to speak with the hearts of the people who consume those songs, you know? And we really like the bridge between that. We like that the bridge that brings the heart and that brings the business and marries everybody and goes, these are the rules. This is what you can do, this is what you can't do. And this is how we need to authentically keep the hearts like beating properly. This is how we authentically keep the business also working and delivering on ROI. So I think there's a lack of that understanding sometimes in the creative world. And I think also in the corporate world, there's a lack of understanding of the importance of understanding people's narrative and not speaking over people. Because if we think about marketing, marketing is the biggest marketing agencies are owned by global agencies, which come with global insights, global data. It's almost like there's no people in Africa where we can actually like build our own insights and build our own data, so we can build our own technology over time and build and sell our own products. So so we literally at the stage of just like sharing where we are as a people through our business, and it starts with the heart. And most young people grow up in places where they don't have opportunities, and the musician seems to be like the opportunity. The sports guy seems like there's the opportunity. That seems like the most accessible thing. And if you're from those environments, you know, we have the job to show brands that like culture is so important, because it's almost like the first point of breakthrough for a kid. Before a kid thinks that they can be a scientist, before a kid thinks that they can think they can be a doctor, but they probably see someone who looks like them in music, and that looks like it's a realistic thing. And that's unfortunately because of the history of this country, that kids literally see that world as success first. So how do we use that world to teach people that there's more? And that's really the heart of the Slick On Live business, basically.
Okay.
Good Lord, that was a long lot. And Slick, can I just say that you absolutely missed out the most vital part of your CV, and that was you being on Strictly Come Dancing. And as Hayley will attest, you know that you are a Latin American and a ballroom dancer as well. Just thought I'd throw it in there.
Thanks for that. The story, my Strictly Come Dancing story, doesn't have a happy ending, and it doesn't, and it's not even long enough. So I kind of shy away from things like that. They don't have happy endings.
Thank goodness, because your biography would have gone on to the next day. Let you carry on.
I was gonna say that Strictly Come Dancing winner. You know, I was gonna say that, but I'll stick to the music.
Well, I think, Sam, that Sia was probably trying to forget that chapter in his life. So you unfortunately reminded him of a painful chapter in his life. So thank you for that intro, Sia. I guess just to kick us, yeah?
Just to say something, Tabo, it's just that I wanted to say to the kids that you can be anything, and that Strictly Come Dancing, they just messed that up for me. She shouldn't have mentioned that. If you can't dance, you can't.
Fair enough. So I guess let me kick us off. Let's kick us off from a discussion perspective. So let me start off at the beginning. So I would like to pose the question to Bongi. So Bongi, please talk us through how it is that you discovered your talent. How did you know that you wanted to do, or you could sing opera? So talk us through how you knew, number one, and number two, what did you do in order to become an internationally renowned opera singer?
You know, I'm going to answer you, and you're probably going to think I'm joking, but here's the thing. I don't know if I can sing opera. And I don't know if I'm internationally renowned. All I know is that I open my mouth, I trust that something will come out, and I trust that it will sound the way it should. Because if I don't, I will mess it up so badly, and I will judge myself so harshly, and I'll probably stop singing. So I don't even go there and do all of those things. But I went to varsity to study law, and I graduated my first degree, and I was lazy to go work, and somebody told me they had auditions at the opera school. And they said, because you can sing, why don't you go audition? So I did. And I went into that audition without any preparation or planning. So I literally sang a cappella, which is without accompaniment. And it was an ad-lib. And everybody else had to wait for the calls to tell them they made it. I didn't. I was told on the spot, welcome to UCT Opera School. And as they say, the rest is history. I've gone on to sing with Pavarotti. I've gone on to sing at the Royal Opera House. I've gone on to sing in Amsterdam. I've gone on to sing Asia, you name it, I've done it. I've been to America. I've sung literally all continents of this world. And I have sung with most major orchestras. And literally, I've lived a very charmed life. And it is based mainly on not taking myself so seriously that I burn myself. Because what I discovered was that when you aim too high and you can't reach, you tend to give up. And you tend to hate on yourself. So when people criticize you, it's now double jeopardy, because it's no longer just their criticism. You've literally now invited yourself to this horrible party of negativity about yourself. So I don't even go there. What I try and do is, like I literally say, I mean, I teach voice. What do I teach my students? I teach them simple lessons. I call it Singing 101, Singing for Idiots. And what is it? Don't try and do anything your body cannot do without you. So if your body can't do it, don't try and put it in there, because then you have to manage it the whole time. You know, there's a lot of admin that goes into maintaining something that is artificial. So I'll take you to nature and I'll keep you there. And if you stray, I'll bring you back and say, let's stay with nature. If the body cannot do it without you telling it what to do, don't go there. And that is what they mean when they say in Africa, you will find talent on the streets, because we stick as close as possible to nature. Whereas when you go to the rest of the world, you will be taught how to sing opera, and you will hear, I sing the way I speak. So I'm very unlikely to start sounding like, because that's what people think opera singers sound like. You'll never hear me sounding like that. I refuse. It's unsustainable. So I try and keep it as you hear me speak, this is exactly what you will hear when I sing, because keep it as close to nature as possible. That way you don't have to maintain it. It's self-sustaining, and in actual fact, it's also self-refreshing. So as I grow older, I was at the university a couple of weeks ago, and the head of the music department said to me, Bongi, I first heard you sing almost 30 years ago, and I heard you sing last month. You are still sounding so fresh and so lyrical. How do you do that? I said, because I'm not trying to sound like anything or anybody. I open my mouth, I trust something will come out that will not scare anybody, and that's it.
100%. I see both Sam and Megan were nodding furiously there. Megan, do you have anything further to add to that in terms of your journey? How you knew that this is the path that you needed to take?
Look, there's a lot to be said for speak level singing as well, because that is sustainable. And I mean, I've been on the corporate scene. I've had to pull out Shaka Khan, and then I have to pull out Celine Dion and do all that kind of stuff, when truly I'm actually a country singer. That's actually my vibe. That's what I write. That's actually my vibe. But there's a lot to be said for staying authentic. It's the same with acting. If you keep a role close, it's not such a reach. And also then you start talking about truth, you know? Then all the magic starts to happen. So yeah, there's a lot to be said for how to maintain that kind of career, but also like know that your career is going to be changing. I mean, it's so interesting. None of us have stepped away from the stage door. we're still doing what we do. We're just influencing people at the same time. And I always like to say, I like to use my power for good. Not that I think I'd ever be a villain, but I like to use my power for good. And that's what we've all done. Every single person here on this platform. And it's so funny because Sia, we had this conversation 5 years ago. We spoke about this in 2015 when you started launching everything that you have been doing, and I'm so happy that it's happened and it's in a good place. But yeah, we've all moved into these roles where we haven't stepped too far from the stage door, but we're using our power for good. And I mean, that's what we're doing over here at Waiting in the Wings SA as well. You know, we've also realized that there are a lot of artists that are struggling right now. We're in the same, I wouldn't say we're in the same boat, we're in the same ocean. You know, but there could have been a moment, especially like what Bongi said about the negativity. There could have been a moment where I could have said, you know, at the beginning of this lockdown, I lost everything. And I did.
Yes.
I lost everything. I've lost easily about 160K worth of gigs. Okay. And that includes commercials. It includes a Netflix shoot. I lost my house. I lost my car. Like, it was crazy, guys. And there could have been a moment where I said, I'm going to sit in this. I'm going to sit in this hot loneliness. And I'm not going to do a thing. But we didn't, did we?
Yeah.
We kept on going. And we decided that with an emotion like empathy, and I know that this is one of your themes today. If we're in this together, then let's be in this together. Then let's do this kind of thing. And let's not play into that kind of negativity. And I'm not saying play into toxic positivity either. You know, you can't be up all the time either. That's not healthy either.
Yeah.
But I do love the fact that none of us have like really just sat in it. None of us have dug into this negativity and let it take over. And I think that's important because as artists, what we do, and I know I'm wondering, I'm doing this. I can feel that I'm doing a little bit of a mind map. But we are our biggest bullies. Self-talk is so important, guys. At some point in time in your career, you need to swap out self-respect for self-love. Self-respect is very aggressive. Okay? It's extremely aggressive. At some point in time, you have to swap it out for self-love, understand your worth, understand your contribution. Yeah. And I just try to make it better. Did I cover that? I feel like I went too far.
No, you did. So
the
just
spirit
on that.
Took me. I'm sorry. The spirit generally takes me.
No, as the spirit leads. So there's a part you touched on there, Megan, that I'd like to pose to some of our other panelists there. So specifically, I want to speak to Julian and Hayley on this one. So it's a two-pronged question. Number one is, what has the pandemic, what sort of impact has the pandemic had on you, your business, your careers? And number two, how have you overcome that, if you have, or if you're in the process of overcoming those challenges? So let's start off with Hayley.
Well, sure. It's a tough one. At the start of the pandemic, we, like Megan said, we lost tons of gigs. We're a family. So the TaylorMade group, just to give you background, we're all professional dancers. We have choreographers, creatives, costume designers. We're a family. And I pride myself on the fact that over the last 13 years, we built a phenomenal establishment where we have our own rehearsal venue. It is a one-stop shop. We have technical supply services with my husband. And we just, as the pandemic started, we lost gigs straight. I mean, the last gig we did actually together was myself and Megan. She was phenomenal on that stage, and life just changed. We fought tooth and nail to get our deposits. We fought for our artists, the dancers. We sat on Zoom calls trying to inform every freelance dancer. These are the most incredible performers that have been on the most wonderful stages in South Africa and internationally. And we needed to inform them. It is coming. The storm is coming. We needed to help them prep. Can you go back to Cape Town? Can you sell your car? And it was all about just educating everybody, not myself and my husband as the owners of the companies sitting, trying to save ourselves. The first thing we wanted to do was get rid of our venue, get out of our leases, sell the dance studio, pack up everything, put our business in incubation, and now turn it around. We started the Hope Project SA, which is a nonprofit organization. We've got a wonderful board of directors from agencies, people from sporting elements, people in eventing, where we're trying to navigate this new normal and we're trying to help each other. And ultimately what we're trying to do is we're manufacturing masks. Not that we ever wanted to do that. We just figured, what can we do now? What can we do in order to help our people, our family, much like what Megan's doing. She's doing the most amazing stuff out there. We're just trying to navigate this normal and trying to help our people. So we sell masks, we're putting on virtual shows, and people can apply on our website for relief, which comes in the form of meal vouchers. And now we're trying to do the next step, because also just giving someone a meal voucher bi-weekly and helping them to buy food, we realized it's more than that. We need to give people a purpose. We need to help people. So we have life coaches that call our professional dancers, vocalists that are struggling. I reach out to them every 2 weeks. Myself, as a previous professional dancer, I kind of feel like that was so long ago when I was on Strictly with Sia and doing those shows. It feels like a lifetime ago, but I'm still at the bottom of it, a professional dancer. I'm still a dancer and I care for the arts so much. And it's not about weathering the storm. It's about dancing in the rain, trying to navigate this. What can we do? We're conceptualizing virtual shows, getting the right people in the room. Being a creator, it really is also about being adaptable, being versatile, seeing where we can talk to our clients. How can we help these performers? Because without arts and love and passion and storytelling, like Sam has said, what do we have? You know, we're a beautiful nation. And I just look at this call and I look at the young faces here. And if I could tell you one thing, it's just about versatility, about being strong. Partnerships, collaborations. You can't just hold everything to yourself and go, mine, I want to be a success. The Hope Project that we found in all of this storytelling and sitting and even just calling someone and asking how they're doing doesn't mean I have the answers, but it's about being proudly South African and knowing that we're in this together and we need to come up with solutions for entertainers, for creatives. And it's coming. I can see, you just watch on social media, we are fighting. We are some of the most resilient people I know. Yes, we've lost everything. We've shut shop. We're selling cars. We're trying to help dancers to just buy food. Some of them are every second day. And these are the best break dancers in the world. So I think that says a lot. It's testimony to who we are as Africans. And I think we need to continue on this. And I think in this pandemic, we're also learning a lot about ourselves. Like Megan is saying, look how phenomenal she is at producing and creating. I watch her on social media and I'm in absolute awe. So I think it's also that, just praising people when they're doing great things and not trying to just hold everything for your own.
Okay, cool. Jules?
I hope I answered the question.
Yes, you did. Julian?
Yebo.
How has the pandemic affected you and how are you overcoming it?
Sure. I think the financial impact's obviously been massive. The day the lockdown was announced, I mean, we just started getting emails from all our retailers that they were canceling all their orders. So to date, I mean, we lost a good half a year of revenue, which is massive. And we're still not 100% sure whether retailers are going to purchase for Q4. That's the situation we're in now. So we really don't know. So immediately we realized we obviously needed to act. We got together as a team and we started implementing various measures, sort of preparing for the worst. And I think we've managed pretty well. Luckily, I must say the number one step was to see, can we keep our employees and can we keep them at full pay? And luckily we had enough of a buffer to do that. Obviously we had to do the usual. We had to look at cutting our overheads, really cutting all the unnecessary things out, looking at commitments that we had with creditors, etc. And really, you know, starting to communicate with everyone. I think that was the first step, to just understand this impact that we are obviously under, and to see how can we, you know, negotiate with, for instance, our suppliers, etc.
Yeah.
And then the obvious to just pivot. So we also started getting into masks, which was obvious for us being an apparel company. Tried to do some PPE deals as well, you know, just some trading stuff, which actually didn't work at all. Then luckily, I must say, as I did mention at the beginning, we've also got an agency, and that agency actually also came about from need, because our company actually has been struggling for many years, and the brand itself wasn't really sustaining itself. So we decided to use our expertise to also, you know, do other business. And that was a saving grace back then, and it's a saving grace now, because we have so many other projects running that have not been impacted by COVID as much as our core business. And that's also what's seeing us through this time. And actually, I must say that the struggles of the previous years have really prepared us for the current situation, because really it hasn't been easy for us in past years. So we were kind of used to being in the trenches. It was just another challenge coming towards us that we had to sort of overcome. And then luckily also for us, for years we've been working remotely, because that's always been my philosophy. I never saw the point of having to be in an office at the same time, you know, these set office hours. And for myself, actually, as a you know, as a director, I kind of always wanted to have that freedom of working anywhere. You know, I can be anywhere in the world and run this company, and obviously I want to award the same freedom to my employees. And we've been doing it for years. So really that hasn't changed anything. So extremely grateful that we've managed so far. I am, of course, worried, like we all are, about the economic impact that's still to come, because I think we haven't seen anything yet. So I think it's really just being aware of that and constantly, as I said, pivoting and finding additional revenue streams. Like even in my personal capacity, I creative directed the TVC the other day, which is amazing. I was just like, I'm happy to do it. You know, I've got a little bit of expertise to sort of our own content that we've created. And I said, let me do it. You know, I right now I'm willing to take on any work that I possibly can. Obviously, nothing that will distract me too much from core business. That's always key. But you know, if we have work, we must just be so thankful. And I think now is really the time to be strong. As some of the other panelists have said as well, it's like working together. I think that's what's really important, and what's great, what's coming out of this is that we're finding our alliances, we're reaching out to other people, we realize that we need to share, that we can't run this race ourselves. So yeah, I'm in a good space, I'll be honest with you. And I think on top of it, also coming back to a personal level, I think mental health in this time is extremely important, staying mentally strong. So I've implemented a lot of things that I've also done before. You know, I think exercise, daily exercise is important. Being disciplined. I mean, I wake up at 5 a.m. every morning. I used to always rise early, but now it's like 5 a.m., get up, do my stuff. So yeah, those are the things that are keeping me sane and keeping me strong. So yeah, in a good space, luckily.
Okay, cool. Thanks, Julian. Before we carry on, we had a question from Musa. Musa, you had a question?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so I was listening closely when Sibongile Mngoma were actually speaking. Can I just quickly ask, was that the real Slicker?
Yes, it was.
Okay. So I'm asking a question. My question is actually based. My question is actually based from a teacher's point of view. So currently with what is actually happening with the coronavirus, it's actually made it much more difficult for kids to actually aspire to become artists, because like Megan has actually been saying, like artists have been one of the most people who have suffered the setback with regards to economic activities. So my first question is, how then, again, Sibongile Mngoma and Slicker could actually maybe answer this question for me. How can I then continue inspiring young students who want to aspire to be artists? That's the first one. And the second one is based on my personal teaching. You know, the traditional normative way of teaching actually says that I need to teach a child so I can prepare them to become a lawyer, a doctor, or a teacher, or anything else that is seen as traditional. So then how then do I make sure that I guard my artists? Because I personally feel that artists are very important. I mean, Megan, you were actually about to touch on that. I was really hoping that you were going to say that, no, actually artists actually mirror back society, what actually is happening in society. And it's just a pity that now we cannot have any art performances, because I think artists would have been doing a very great job to actually mirror back what is happening to society. But not to dwell off, but my first question is to say, number one, how then do I continue inspiring young students who still want to continue becoming artists, even though the economic times are hitting them really hard right now? The second one is that how can I move away from my normative and traditional way of teaching to make sure that I continue influencing to say that, no, you can become a slicker one day, you can become a Sibongile one day. No, thanks, that's all.
Thank you, Musa. Megan, would you like to take a stab at it?
Yeah, I think dealing with artists is a very interesting job, isn't it? Because I mean, I do a lot of teaching, and I've been teaching since 2014, and I can always see the artists. I know exactly who's going to be an artist. So it's very strange that sometimes they need a little bit more care, and I've always noticed that any child that's introduced to the arts at an early age is just less aggressive. Why? Because they know how to express themselves. So I think that's important, that they have an outlet, that they know how to express themselves. So I think that's where that sort of inspirational role comes in. But check in with them, always check in with them, because the feelings are huge. I mean, I'm the kind of person, when my feelings are too big, I sing them. That's who we are. All right. And then also, don't drop anchor here. Don't drop anchor here. When it comes to the students that really want to be artists and you want to mold them and shape them and get them there, tell them not to drop anchor here. Look at this panel. We have not stopped fighting, and we never will. All right? Because you know what? If we lose the arts, what are we fighting for? All right? We are human barometers. That's what artists do. We're signs of the times. And just tell them, don't drop anchor here. Guys, I need to step on set. This has been awesome. I hope you are inspired. I hope you are motivated. And I will see you on the flip side. Okay.
Megan, thank you. Thank you.
Can I just add, add something there?
Go ahead.
Oh my God. Are you there? Yeah. I just want to say that, like, and maybe this is a little bit of a controversial perspective, I don't think that, like, in my view, kids should be taught art. You need to teach them how to master a craft, but I don't think we should teach kids how to if they got it innately, they've got it innately. If they don't, they don't. But what we need to be teaching kids, to build institutions. And yeah, can you hear me? We need to be teaching kids how to build businesses for artists, because they're gonna literally probably give birth to other kids who are creative. You see, when people talk about art, they literally try and make art something that sounds like it's a rebel that's doing something. But architecture is art. It's a drawing. It's a drawing of a building. You know how to place the bricks, and then you give it a fancy name and you say it's architecture. Creating like woodcraft or whatever they call it. I'm like witchcraft. I'm like creating like cupboards. It's art. It's a design. Anything that has the word design means that, like, it has to come from somewhere and it has to be drawn. So my view is that, like, we need to start teaching kids the bigger picture of what art is. We need to start teaching kids the business behind ownership of art, and the resources that they need to own art. Because everything else, if you think about it, whether you're talking about alcohol, a soft drink, or a bank, literally those are products that use what? They use the craft of artists to basically get to people. So my thing is that maybe we need to flip the education around art and turn it into, how do we teach you like, give you the tools to own your art, right? How do we give you the tools to be able to expand your art? How do we give you the tools to like literally put a value to your art and also see where your art fits in economically? Do you know what I mean? Because we know that like if there were as much mathematicians as artists, then we wouldn't even have a ghetto. You know what I mean? If there were as much scientists as artists, we wouldn't even have a ghetto. But they don't mean that like, you know, you can't show kids that there's a way to use art to be a scientist, because right now we should be teaching them technology. If you're a dancer, you're a musician, I mean, revenue is made out of streaming today. It's the social media platforms. Is it even a good deal for you to put your content on social media and create so much overexposure? Then you want to go try to make money through streaming, and people are like, but we got you for free on social media. So at the end of the day, who benefits? And it's that type of level of business that we got to teach, that like, if you don't also respect your art or your craft to a point where you're always giving it away for free, including social media, that's your account, you know, it doesn't allow you to ever own the monetization of your art, because you've shared the monetization of your art with a similar kind of behavior on social media, where it'll box, and you can go to social media and go hashtag dancers, you know, hashtag chefs, hashtag, and you can't own it anymore. So I think that, you know, how even without COVID-19, regardless of COVID-19, I don't think that art should be something that should be taught, but it should be the business. There's too many people who are trying to be artists, but why aren't artists changing the world?
Okay,
because they're not being taught the business. Go ahead.
I need to jump in because I feel like what you're doing and what you're talking about is absolutely invaluable. But you're talking artists 901 instead of 101, and I think that we need to actually go back to the beginning. We need to connect first of all with, when you say, you know, we shouldn't be teaching art. Okay, let's go back to what creativity is rather. Let's not think of it as art. Let's think of creativity. And I think creativity is, in essence, in all of us, in every single human being. You wake up every day and you create your day. Every day we are creating something. So it is the connection to that, first of all, rather than to call that art. Secondly, to understand no one is you. Everyone is unique. And this is, I'm talking to the learners as well. Everyone is you. Everyone is unique. Why are you wanting to be an artist? Is it because you think that you want to be famous? Is it because you're trying to copy someone on TV? Or is it because it is a drive and a calling within you? If it is linked to the essence of who you are, if it is something that is absolutely who you are and that's how you need to express it, then link to that, be that 100%, amp that up 100%, be your amplified self in doing that. I also think that when we connect back to what it is that drives creators and artists, the first singers on this planet were shamans, were spiritual beings who used to sing in sacred spaces, who used to link to Gregorian and Ambrosian chants. The first dancers were primitive dancers who connected to earth and to nature. It is in essence in all of us as human beings. What we're trying to say, if I'm trying to teach creative art to kids and to say that it is important that you connect to this, is that it links you to deeper meaning. It links you to what makes us human. It teaches you other skills, not just to be an artist. It teaches you empathy, teaches you understanding, teaches you compassion, the very things you cannot learn on a digital platform. Online, that you can go and learn, absolutely. But let's go back to the essence of what makes us human. And only one thing does that, and that is the arts. When we get connected too much to our ego selves, and we talk about, I'm going to make money doing this, and I'm going to do, it doesn't actually get the message across. When people connect to the transcendent parts of themselves and they express art that way, that is how you pull people in. That's how you connect. That's how you can link this person to someone miles and miles away, listening to you suddenly sing from that beautiful space. We are global travelers. We are global humans. We are at the space now where we need to link to people more from a human space. Technology is leading us forward, of course, but we need to remember the humanities.
Now, Now, with that said, Sam, I think
I mean,
just a second, see.
Yeah.
I take both yours and Skia's points. My thing is, what I want to understand is, so let's take it even a step further, or step back. So Sam, you spoke about you've got a passion in the arts. Now you need to become. So the biggest question in my mind is that right there. How do you become? So before we get into what Sia is talking about, around which we'll touch on in a sec, around the business aspect of owning the art and not just being, which is what I'm assuming Sia is talking about, not just being talent, but owning the art as well. My question is, how do I, as a student that realized that, okay, I've got a passion or a talent in these particular things, how do I become that thing? What is the next step that I take? How do I go about ensuring that I'm able to apply myself? How do I do that?
Well, certainly online at the moment, there are a multitude of platforms that you can link into, and Bongi wants to obviously talk as well. I think it is to hone every little bit of your skill as much as you can. Mm-hmm. So if you're a singer, go online and look at many singers and take as many classes as you can, or practice or sing. Just do the work of singing every day. It's almost like you need to put it out into the universe to say, this is what I am, and the right people will come to you. I also believe in energy. It's a quantum physics thing. You put yourself there in an energetic way, the right people come to you, and this person will link to you, and it's a network. You know, it's no longer just about me, like Hayley was talking as well. It is we. How can we do this together, as opposed to just me on my own?
Okay.
So, and also understanding the different intelligences we all have. Yes. You know, it's not just, and for you, what you spoke about as well, divergent thinking. What we as creatives can do is creative problem solving, creative ideas. We're constantly expanding because we're not just regurgitating what we've learned. We're continually joining the dots and linking and creating for ourselves. And we as freelance performers have often been out of work. We've often had to sit and think creatively, how do we do this? And so I think we've been preparing for this pandemic for the longest time. Bongi, you'd want to say something.
Bongi, go ahead.
All right. I believe that this lockdown is actually a blessing in disguise for all of us, especially in the creative and artistic spaces. Because I agree with Sia, there's a certain element of our industry that has been neglected, which is why you find a lot of lazy people becoming artists because they don't want to study. That's something to deal with because of what it is. It's just laziness, it's nothing else. But there's also the other side that Semi is talking about, the talent, the creative side of us, which has to be honed. You will not develop a muscle that you don't train. So you have to train that muscle. It would be a terrible fallacy to say you don't train people to be artists. You do train them. There are nuances to painting. There are nuances to music. There are nuances to drama, theater. There are certain things that you have to tap into that brings out something so unique that you don't just bring out by nature, but you bring out because you tap into that thing that teachers know how to bring out. Ask any teacher, we are talking to students and teachers here, ask any teacher about that brilliant math student. How do you know they're brilliant? Because you give them numbers to work with. You are not going to now suddenly make them a mathematician or a professor of mathematics without giving them numbers, basics. So you have there's a paradigm shift that needs to happen. This lockdown is the opportunity we've all been waiting for to literally say, go back, find a way to reintegrate everything, because art has always been the black sheep of the family. Why is that? Because it's seen as that thing that is done by those lazy ones, or the rebels without a cause, or, you know, those ones that are just those ones that don't have a future, or those ones that are too stupid to actually multiply two by two. So now, because they can't think beyond certain things, they cannot do certain things, so they can just become musicians or dancers or this and that. But music is actually mathematics. Think about it. This is all we do. From the beginning of the song to the end, every bar is actually calculations. What are we talking about? We are talking 2/4 time, 2/2 time, 4/4 time, 6/8, 5/7. You are calculating time the whole time. How are you going to do that without mathematics? But you see, the way we have been viewing art is so disconnected. You know, I was explaining something to somebody yesterday and saying that the one thing that I learned from living in Italy was that the music is so integrated. It's so much a part of life that you can go to the corner shop, the pizzeria, and buy pizza. The owner is standing there singing opera beautifully, better than the singers in the theaters. And you can go to the gelateria to buy your ice cream, and the owner or the one who's serving you is singing opera, because it is so much an integrated part of their culture. In South Africa, music, dance, everything is so much a part of our culture, but we don't embrace it like that. We separate it. And I believe the time has come for us to integrate, because think about it. Funerals, music. Weddings, music. Toi toi, music. We sing at each other. We sing for everything. We sing. We are a nation of singers. We even had a president who sang. He just sang and sang and sang. He sang everything at us. He sang his corruption at us. He sang his wives at us. He sang. So, you know, we are a country that needs to embrace who we are, and we have to approach ourselves holistically and start integrating. So think about it this way. You have Slicker, and then they do, you know, this is some of my favorite music that Slicker and them do. I love my kwaito, I love my hip hop. I'm very much that. I'm a hip hop head from way back when. You know, I used to love my underground stuff. But you see, because it was not accepted, because it's the black sheep of the family, if you want to be a musician, I must become this musician, because then everybody thinks I'm so sophisticated and lovely. But you see, it's a paradigm shift that needs to happen. It's time for us to reintegrate and think about being inclusive in terms of how we deal with art, and don't make it out into a bad thing. Teach it.
Yeah.
You know, teach it. Teach the basics, teach the background, teach the business, teach the administration, teach everything. Do it all. Don't exclude anything. Don't make it out to be something undesirable, because it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. Wow.
Can I add something to Can I add something? If it's okay. If it's okay. I think that what's very important.
You're muted.
Okay, I'm unmute now. Okay. I agree with both the comments, and I do, and maybe my statement in saying artists shouldn't be trained is obviously landing as that. But like, what I'm just trying to say, that there's too many uneducated teams. Let me use an example. If like an artist, like this is what happens in the townships with a lot of kids. The kid that manages you is the kid that also used to rap, let's just say, but he just doesn't do it as well as you do. But he doesn't know anything about the music industry, right? Yeah. So he just manages you because you're both are just friends. This is a real dynamic, right? So you get into a space where as your friend becomes more successful, your friend starts owing tax money, because your friend who's the manager literally also doesn't know anything about tax.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you just the same, you know. So yes, my thing is that there's so many people who are great artists, but they cannot take it further, particularly where we come from. Because the people who try help them take them further either rip them off or don't understand the nuances of their culture, or it's their friends who literally just don't understand everything and they rip them off by mistake. They're like, I never knew it. They never knew that the standard was 20%. I thought I must give you 20%. You know what I mean? So when we talk about embracing arts, and I love what this one was saying, that just the division, you cannot literally like remove the education of how you can exploit arts and go, let's just look at the kids that are really talented. Because there's the kid who's around the kid that's really talented, who needs to think about, how do I actually help this become a business? And if that kid is also being taught the business of the arts, that's when we start learning the appreciation of it. The reason why our parents don't encourage us to do art, or they don't do this, is because it's because like arts literally benefit the famous guy, but they never know what happens with the manager. And whenever arts actually do benefit like the manager, it's probably not a manager that's within their space. So the thing is that the only way you can make people start appreciating things and respecting it is when there's a business element to it. But we also have to move from a place where our business is not handled by us. Because if we keep on doing that, the Lion Kings of the world will consistently be owned by Disney. And all these kids, whether they're from Deep Sloot, whether from wherever they're from, the reality is that, like, you know, they'll just always be talent, but they'll never actually like have publishing legacy. So what I'm trying to say is that art is so important and it's so innate in who we are.
Yeah.
You just train to be better. But now we also now need to educate to make sure that when you train to be better, it literally benefits yourself, your family, your community, and it builds confidence in the craft. Because the only way, imagine I told you today and we were mining for the first time, and I said, Tabo, I've got some work for you. Here's an overall and here's a hard cap or whatever they call it, and go underground. And you go, and it's the first time you're doing it, and you go to your family, you say, yeah, you know, I was there working for Sia the whole day, we're just underground, just digging, you know. What's your family going to say? They're going to say, are you crazy? You're underground digging. What are you doing? You're not even burying people. But until there's the business element that comes through, your family doesn't mind you wearing an overall with a hard cap, right? Yes. And that's what we need to start doing with music. Art is the goal, right? But like the job, but like literally the business side of it is literally like the mine that makes it not ridiculous to go and get dusted underground. Do you know what I mean? Okay. So that's why it has to be our own people that also, our kids need to also start learning that maybe I'm not the best singer, but maybe let me understand who manages Jay-Z, who manages Beyonce, what do they really do? What is the detail to that? I want to be an opera singer too, but like who was even managing Pablo? How did Sibongile actually go out there and create the links to be in the world? How does that happen? And if a kid can understand that from the township, who's close to the artist, he'll know how to sell that in Italy to kind of go, you know, when we speak like this, this is what we mean. And he'll sell the context properly. Right now, we got too many people in between, even trying to sell our culture to the world.
Yes.
So for me, art, so what I'm just trying to say to the kids that don't worry if you're not as talented as the kid next to you. If you still love the art, there's other things you can do to encourage the art to grow.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Okay. So what I want to do now is, that was a powerful statement. What I want to do now is ask...
Sorry, Tabo, I just remembered that there was a question asked and I didn't answer. Musa asked about how to inspire children during this time, especially in view of the fact that artists have not fared the best out of everyone. Truth of the matter is that's actually not a true statement. what has been happening throughout this COVID-19 lockdown? People have been watching series, people have been watching television, people have been catching up on the movies they never got to see in the cinemas, people have been binging on music. What is that? Art. So you see, even during the lockdown, who has kept everybody sane? Artists. So before we discard artists and say, because the corruption of this country has made it difficult for artists to thrive, let's not write it off. Let's actually deal with the fact that the truth of the matter is that it's not the art that is not thriving. It's the corruption that is crippling everything else, not just the arts. Even grants, social grants are crippled by corruption. So the issue is not the arts not thriving during the lockdown. The issue is corruption is thriving. So arts will never go anywhere because we need them. We need them to stay sane. So for those kids who want to be artists, they just need, for you, Musa, just a direct answer. For your kids, show them what has kept everybody sane during this lockdown. The series, the television programs, the music, the art, everything that is there is art. The president's address is creatives. Without those creatives, there's no cameras, there's no sound, there's no lights, action. So it's still the creative industries. So whatever else may be going wrong, the arts are thriving. If anything, this is the perfect opportunity to show everyone why we need to preserve the arts.
Perfect, great. To close off the conversation, just before we open up to some Q&A, any last advice for learners that want to pursue a career in the arts? Do any one of our panelists have some advice for them? Sam, looks like you want to say something.
No, I always want to say something. I just, as Sibongile said, it's like the fact that there are so many careers that are out there within the arts. There's the background, there's the lighting, there's the sound, there's the technical department, there is the stage crew, there are a multitude of different industries that you can, or facets of the industry that you can go into. So there are, it's not just one, you're not just an artist. If you want to be in the creative industries, there are a multitude of careers that you can look at and choose.
Cool.
Yeah.
Jules?
Yeah, I think, I mean, it's all been said, but I think what's key is, and you said it at the beginning, you know, you said these days sort of everyone has multiple skills, jobs, titles, whatever it may be. You know, I think it's in this day and age, it's not enough to just be one thing. And I think to just say, okay, I've got a certain talent, I'm going to follow that talent, and, you know, that's it, is just not enough anymore. Of course, if I'm a talented singer, I might be lucky and get a manager, but at the end of the day, I think it's also important to understand all these aspects. And, you know, if we are privileged enough to have access to this information, may it be through the internet, you know, may it be books, there's so much that we can learn. And of course, it's not easy sometimes, because obviously what comes easy is your talent and you might pursue that, but there's so many other important aspects that you can teach yourself and you can equip yourself, and you get a better, more complex worldview, and are just a lot more prepared to thrive through your art, you know, to create that structure around you. So I think that's just very important, that every day we dedicate to learning and to, you know, if we ever, as I said, it's coming from a very privileged position. Not everyone has that privilege, but if we do, we must definitely use it.
Cool, perfect. Thanks, Jules. Anything further to add, Sibongile, before I open up to Q&A, for Q&A?
I would say, depending on which stream you want to go into, you may want to also consider applying to universities to study, because there are opportunities out there, and it's not just in this country. You can study at any of the universities in this country, or you can study overseas. At the moment, I think we are doing better than most, strangely enough. We are feeding the world. We have such incredible talent in this country, and we don't realize it because we are not celebrating it enough. So it's actually, this is our time to actually start saying, we do have it, and it's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing to go into. It's actually a good thing, and we encourage our young people to go into the creative industries and art, because it is a very lucrative industry. Look at how Black Coffee is coining it. Look at how, you know, our artists are doing very well in the world. Yeah. It doesn't matter which stream, which discipline you're looking at. In the movies, they're doing well. Music, they're doing well. Everything we touch, the world is ready to consume because it comes from South Africa. We are gold at the moment. So go out there, do your best. Don't worry about it. Even parents are starting to realize that actually this thing might not be as bad as they used to think it was. So it's actually okay to go into the arts.
Cool. Thanks so much. Thank you to all our panelists. Now I'll open it up for some Q&A. Does anybody have any questions for our panelists or what we've been discussing in depth? Are there any questions? Beatrice? No. That's great. Cool. I guess a lot of our participants that have been listening to our panelists are still digesting the content of what we spoke about. But for me, in essence, what came out of this session is really around three things. The first thing is the fact that you need to, and this is what the pandemic showed, you need to be resilient, have a thick skin, be able to weather the storm. And there's this saying that goes like, calm seas have never made for good sailors. Found that to be so powerful. The second thing is, in your resilience, you need to be strong and driven in terms of what it is that you want to achieve, the goal that you want to drive or strive towards. And thirdly, it's a philosophy that one of my friends came up with. He calls it KYS, KYN, KYS. Know your numbers, know your story, which basically means, and goes back to the conversation that we've been having around the fact that you want to, yes, you are passionate about the arts and getting into the career in the arts, no matter where it is in the art, but it's also about owning that art. And then owning a part of that art and not just being the talent. And ownership means that you need to understand the mechanics of the business side of things before you can try to, or before you can even think about looking at how you will succeed. You need to understand the mechanics of the business in order for you to further yourself. Because to Sia's point, at the end of the day, if you are just going with the flow, you end up not knowing what it is that you're doing. So it's important to do your research, understand what others are doing out there. Because without external information, all you're doing is sitting in your little corner and hoping for the best, which what one of the execs back at one of the banks that I used to work at once said. He was like, whenever something's not moving, whenever it's stagnant, think about a stagnant body of water. What happens to that water? It stinks. Nothing can live, survive, or thrive in it. So it's important to constantly move, constantly challenge yourself and do your research. And with that, it pretty much wraps up our webinar 1 of our way of work, our talent edition. We're looking forward to other webinars and you joining us in future webinars. Clifford, Bronwyn, don't know if you have anything further to add to that.
Thabo, if I can just say, listen, incredibly well done for our first session. I think this was probably one of the more difficult market segments to start with, because there's so much to talk about in terms of the arts and the careers and the business of art and so forth. But I think the reason we wanted you to start with this one is to lay a platform for what we think we could be doing in schools, in how we bring a creative process into teaching and learning. Not so much to produce artists or designers, but how to bring that process into the classroom so we can make teaching and learning more engaging. So how can we use public speaking, performing, project management, solving issues, so our kids are learning a process, they're learning to conceptualize, to create, to deliver, to produce. At the same time, they're learning the business processes. And all along, they're actually learning something. So I really like Musa's question. So while you were talking about the challenges of being in the creative field, how do we bring this into teaching and learning? Because we all know about the 21st century skills. The key skills we want are the skills that the artists have. You've got to be creative, you've got to solve problems, you've got to be innovative, you've got to be resilient. So all of the skills and the characters of our artists are the skills and characters we want of our future graduates. And somehow we need to bring these processes into our schools, even in the way we teach history or geography or art. So today's session was a launching pad because Sam, who's nodding there, is going to be running our online stage. And we're going to be inviting the educators and the learners to bring their ideas and their creativity and their thoughts onto the stage. And hopefully, I think taking Sia's point and other points is we mustn't miss out that creativity is one aspect of it. The kids need to learn 360 degrees. You know, how can I exist around this area? So well done to you. Thank you to your guests.